Hey everybody, we want to celebrate Mother's Day today, all the mums in the house. In fact, all the women in our church, we honor you. We praise God for you. We respect and value you. This is your special day. And Bonnie and I just want to celebrate with you today.
Yeah, we're just so excited that the mums have come in, but also all of the women. It is a day of celebrating all the women of the house. And thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Elevation. We love you. If you're a visitor, thanks for coming, and make sure you come back again because you are welcome. I also want to take this time to honor and think about those people that find Mother's Day difficult, because Mother's Day can be hard, especially because of loss, or maybe there might not have been a good mother figure in your life. For me this year, I lost my grandmother, and it was a loss, but it also made me really think about how much of an impact women in my life have had in me. And so I just wanted to honor those today.
We celebrate with all the women in our church. God bless. Have a great day.
God bless.
Well, very loud today, aren't I? I just want to echo everything that Pastor Miles and Pastor Bonnie just said, that we really do honour our mums and the women in this house. And we're going to honour each and every one of you in just a moment. But first of all, we want to take a moment to honour the mum of the house. We want to honour our amazing pastor, Pastor Amanda. So you have to come up here. The Oxford Dictionary defines a mother as somebody who brings up a child with care and affection. And we just know that you care for each and every person in this house. You care for our city, you care for our children, and you just love us and love on us always. And we are so grateful to have you. So happy Mother's Day. Oh, you can hand it, Sophie. So we are just so grateful for you. Because without a mum of the house, can I tell you, life gets hard. So we are so grateful for you. Make sure you give her a big hug, a big pat on the back, a big thank you today when you see her. But right now, I would like to honour... Yeah, you can bring it over now. You know, Mother's Day is a day for celebrating the women in our life. And, you know, whether you came to motherhood through the birth of a child, whether you came to motherhood through fostering or adoption, or whether, you know, you have... whether it's through becoming a grandparent, whether it's spiritual motherhood, we want to honour each and every one of you today. So if that is you, can I ask you right now to stand, because our amazing kids, stand, ladies, mothers, come on, up you get, spiritual mothers, aunts who love on their kids. We want you to stand because our kids have a gift just for you, and they're going to come in around and they're handing them out. Come on, guys, quick. But we just want to honour each and every one of you, because whether you have been raising a child for 5 minutes or 50 years, we know that it is a hard job, and we know that you love and you care and we just love each and every one of you. So everybody who is not standing, you need to give them all like a bigger thank you. No, still not big enough. Come on. These are your mothers. These are the women who raised you, the women who love you, the women who pray for you, the women who care for you each and every day. They make you lunches. They sleep in your bed with you. Thank you, Sienna. So we just want to thank you and honour you. We love you all. You can take your seat now. But look, let's be honest. Motherhood is a hard journey, right? No? Okay, well, this message is going to be, if you think motherhood was easy, then we may have a few issues going into this. Because I found motherhood a difficult journey. But before that, I'd just like to pray with you all. Lord, I just thank you for each and every mother in here, however they became a motherhood, however they became a mother, however they entered motherhood, however they mother their children. We just thank you for them. We thank you for the grace that they have for us, the grace you have for them. We thank you for the love that you give to them that they then pour out onto us. And we just thank you that today especially, they will be blessed, but that they will be blessed in their life. In Jesus' name, everybody said, amen. Well, 16 years I've been a mother. I counted. I have a almost 16-year-old, so we're going 16 years I've been a mother. And can I tell you, I've discovered it is not easy. It is, for all you young girls ready to embark on parenthood, this is the little terms and conditions at the bottom. Motherhood is not as easy as you might think it is. It is It can be expensive. Anybody got any kids who dance? It can be expensive. Dance costumes, dance comps, soccer, football, whatever it is you're sewing. There is money to be sewed in children, even if it's just feeding them. Do you know how much kids eat? I have girls, and I've heard stories about boys. Yeah. I've heard stories. There's a preacher named Priscilla Shira, I don't know how you say her last name. She always talks about her boys. She has 6 foot tall, 3 boys, and she's like, my cupboards are always empty. She always mentions. So they're expensive. Kids are expensive, right? It gets hard. There are some tough decisions you have to make. It's some tough love that you have to give out to your kids. And you know what? It can be really lonely, especially in those first years. But I know as a parent of a teenager, the loneliness never goes away. There are moments when you really do feel all alone, like you're the only one in this place going through what you're going through. It is a total and utter emotional roller coaster, this thing called motherhood. And to make it even harder for a generation of mothers, or generations of mothers, we now have this beast called social media, which displays picture-perfect reels of parents everywhere. These pictures of, you can't escape the reels that just come up, or the photos, or the videos. There is just a plethora of images. It's just in our face, this perfectly aesthetic look of motherhood sometimes. And, you know, the perfect mum bun, the leisure wear, the active wear, and even the ones where it's like Instagram versus reality. Is it not just a really curated version of reality that they want to show the world? It is not the real dirt and guts of parenthood. They are far and few between. And so there's even TV shows that talk about parenting now. It was last year or the year before. I didn't watch it, but I remember it, the one, Parental Guidance. And there were debates about the right style of parenting. We've got, helicopter parenting, strict parenting. I think there's one called gentle parenting now. There's all these labels on parenting and which parent are you, and are you doing that the right way, or are you doing it the wrong way? And we can get so caught up in what the world says we should be as parents, as mothers, that we get lonely, we get angry, we get sad, and we get depressed because we don't match up to what the world says that we should be. And we look outside our homes and we see this picture and we just wonder, I don't know, maybe it's just me. You've seen these pictures of perfect houses that looks like nobody lives in. Can I tell you, my house has never looked like that, will never look like that, unless I move out, I'm assuming. I think if I move out, it might look like that. And so you just get caught up in this spiral of what should I be? What does motherhood look like? Or who should I be? How do I change who I am to become the version of the world that the world says I am? Because maybe I am too gentle parenting and I need to be a bit more strict. Maybe I am too strict and I need to be more gentle. Maybe I need to, let my kids explore nature more and not touch them, and let them figure out how to... Maybe I need to toilet train my babies at 3 months old. There are so many different versions, and I don't think any of them are right or any of them are wrong, but we seem to kind of label parents, and we tell them that you are what your parenting style is. And I don't even know that I have one. I think one day I'm strict, I'm very gentle. Let's say I'm gentle, and then I get really angry because I've been too gentle, and then I turn into this strict yelling mother. No yelling mothers here, any? Yeah. I'm a yelling mother. I'm all nice and calm until I really... until the pot boils over, and then the not so pretty side of Robyn comes out, and you're like, you don't get angry. Oh, I have a temper and I have an anger inside me that could rival any mother here, I'm sure. And so, but I'm not going to put a picture of that on social media. I'm not going to put the video of me screaming at my kids in the car yesterday because they just pushed my button one time too hard on social media. That's just for me and my car and my family. And so we look for this, and we're looking at how to be the perfect version, and what should the perfect version be, and how do we become that, and what do we do? And it's all so confusing, but can I tell you, the good and great and amazing and perfect news is that we serve a God who actually knows who we are. We serve a God who knows and loves and knows and accepts us for who we are. He wants us to be the best version of ourselves. He doesn't want us to be the best version of Amanda. He doesn't want me to be the best version of Kate. He wants Kate to be the best version of Kate, and Amanda to be the best version of Amanda, and me to be the best version of me. Not our best Instagrammable selves. And so this week has been a really big week. we came off Easter, we went straight into preparing for the main event, the tent ministry, into Mother's Day. It has just been a roller coaster of a month. And can I tell you, I am exhausted. I am done, like completely and utterly. My energy tanks are empty. My patience is like, I don't even know if there's any left for me and my kids, and I am done. And this week, you know what I really needed? I really needed a sleep in, and I didn't get it. But I still know that I'm going to be okay. So I was searching, and I'm like, okay, God, this is a really hard week. What are we going to do? And I started preparing a message all about Moses' mother, which is a great message. I will come back to that because that was starting to look really good. But you know what I needed this week? I needed God to tell me how much he loved me. I needed God to lift me up. I needed a love letter from God. And so here we are today. We're going to be looking a little bit at some of Psalm 139. So I'm going to read this out, the psalm, then we're going to go back to it a little bit. But can I just encourage you, if you're not a mother here, this psalm is not written for mothers. It's written for each and every single one of us. If you're a teenage boy, if you're a teenage girl, if you're a husband, if you're a grandfather, this psalm is written to you. It says, in Psalm, starting at verse 1, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar. You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether. You hem me in behind and before and lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. It is high. I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit, or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the winds of the morning and dwell in the utmost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall hold me. If I say, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you." And so this, I have an alarm going off for some reason. Anyway, so this psalm, it was you know when you just need something and you just find it in the Bible and you're like, yes, God, thank you, this is exactly what I needed. And so I wanted to share this with you because when I think about motherhood, I think about the struggles and I think about what we think we should be, and I just feel like this psalm really speaks into those moments of motherhood. And if we go back to verse 1, it says, "O Lord, you have searched me and known me. You know me when I sit down and when I rise up. You discern my thoughts from afar." And that "O Lord" at the very beginning, it translates to God's his personal name. There are many names of God, but it translates to Yahweh. And Yahweh is the name that represents his love, his steadfast love for each and every one of us, and his faithfulness and his mercy and his commitment to each and every one of us to be with us always. And that name of God, that infinite tenderness and personalization towards us, it searches us and it knows us. It knows us better than anybody else. God knows so much more about us than anybody ever will. And so he knows when we've had a hard week and we're carrying those burdens. And he knows when we need rest. And he knows when life is getting really hard. And he knows when we're walking through a valley of motherhood and we just don't know how to get to the other side. And he sends people to us and he loves us. But all the pains and all the pressures, all the disappointment, all the despair that we feel, because that's the reality of life, right? Life is not a life of mountaintops. It's a life of mountaintops and valleys. And God knows whether you're on the mountaintop or in the valley. It doesn't matter what you show to the world. It doesn't matter what you're showing right now. God knows exactly where each and every one of you are. And so he knows what we need before we even need it. Have you ever been in that moment in a valley and you've realized God has set up so many things along the way so that when you get there, when you get to that moment of, I just can't do this anymore, you look around and you realize God has gone before you and he's put the right people in your life. He's put the right things in your life. He has made sure that you are looked after, because he is a God who cares and a God who loves despite where we are. And he knows why. He knows the why, how we feel like that. He knows why we're feeling tired. He knows why we're feeling anxious. He knows why we're feeling depressed. And I love what Morgan shared at the same page this morning. If we listen to his still, small voice each and every moment, we'll be able to hear what God wants for us. And so it goes on into verse 3. It says, "You search out my path and my lying down and are acquainted with all my ways. Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether." See, he's already searched out your path. He knows what's happening this week. He knows you can schedule and he'll know what's happening. He knows that your meetings this week are feeling so compacted in and so busy, and you're just not sure how you're meant to fit parenting in around everything else that you have to do. He knows when you're going and you're leaving. He knows everything. And I love this psalm because it really just puts it plainly out there, right? It's not hard to figure out. It says, "You searched out my path and my lying down." He searched us out. He searches out what we're going through. He searches out what's happening. He searches out what we're doing. You know, we have Fitbits and Apple Watches that count our steps, but we have a God who counts the quality and the quantity of each step throughout the day. He follows us and he's with us each and every moment. And he searches out our lying down. He's not just searching for you when you're going, but when you're stopped. And when you're in a quiet moment, he's searching you out. When you're laying down and when you're feeling overwhelmed and you just need rest, he's searching you out. He knows when you're on the go, and he knows when you're stopping. And he knows when you have nothing left to give. He is so acquainted with each and every part of you, all your ways, all your highs, all your lows, your schedules. He knows that you're doing a school drop-off and then you're running to work, and then you're trying to fit as much work as you can in between the day to make sure you get out of work on time, to get back to school, to get the kids at home, to get them changed, to get them to dance, to get them back to the next class, to get the other kids somewhere else. And he knows that throughout that schedule, throughout that busyness, he's there with you, he's watching you, he's a part of that. And he just wants you to rely on him a little bit more instead of what the world tells us we should or shouldn't be doing. And verse 4 is all about, because verse 3 talks about what we're doing on the outside, right? Our path that we're taking when we're lying down. But verse 4, it says, "Even before a word is on my tongue, behold, O Lord, you know it altogether." That's all about our internal. So he knows externally what we're doing when we're going, when we're stopping, but he also knows internally what we're doing. Internally, he knows what we're struggling with in the moment. Internally, he knows when our kids have pushed our button just that little bit too far and you're about to start screaming at them. Internally, he knows what we're about to speak before we do. Internally, he knows what's happening in our soul and how our soul is. And I love that song, the gratitude song, "Don't Get Tired on Me, Soul," or whatever that says. I'm like, my soul feels really tired right now, God, as we're standing there singing that. But he knows and he feels me. And it's funny that we sing that song that I know is on repeat in my car, or was on repeat in my car, and it fills me and it fills my soul. And so just like before, he's already set up things to help fill my soul again. And he knows what we're praying for, and he knows what we need and what we want, even when we don't have the words. Because who knows that sometimes it's hard to have the words to know what to pray for. I don't know where each and every one of you are now, but you know, when we were having a family, I think back to having Isabella, we were kind of part of a church, but it was a very small, intimate. There weren't really many people. I didn't really make many connections in that church. I didn't have a community of people around me. And I remember after having Isabella, I had a miscarriage, and I didn't have that community that I needed to help me through that moment. And then God sent us to what was then Empower Church. And I know, woo, right? And God really set that up so that even me, quiet, sit in the corner, don't talk to anybody. I look back now and I have a community around me that will help me. And I didn't know what I needed back then. I didn't know the words to pray, but I knew I needed something. And so I had the ability to be like, God, I just need something. But he knew what I needed. And he set it up and he gave me that community. He gave me those people. He gave me what I needed. You know, we go down to verse 5, and this is probably the favourite part of this whole psalm for me. And to start with, you're like, probably all right. It says, you hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. I know, it doesn't say much, right? Some verses it says you enclose me rather than hem me in. But when you first read it, it's like, oh yeah, you hem me in. You kind of like sew me in, like I don't even know. What does picture comes to your mind? I was reading different things and about this, and some people said, you know, it's like a warm hug from God, but when you actually translate that phrase, because that phrase translates to a Hebrew word, and I'm going to mess up the pronunciation, so don't yell at me. But it translates to the word saw. Now, that word means to besiege. And you're like, what? Well, that phrase means to besiege. That phrase, you hem me in, translates to that Hebrew word, which then translates to besiege. Now, what is besiege, you might ask? Well, besiege is when, it's like a term of warfare. And it's when one nation would besiege a city for takeover. So it's this tactic where a nation would completely surround a city or a town. Functionally, they would cut them off for the world, so they couldn't get any supplies in, they couldn't get any supplies out. And they would be drained of its own resource. So eventually, they would kind of have to give up because there was nothing more that they could do. And so they would become totally dependent on the nation that was besieging them. They would become dependent on the people around them. And so in verse 5, it says, God lovingly, well, it doesn't say good lovingly, the meaning is that God lovingly besieges each and every one of us. You see, he surrounds us completely and utterly so that we are dependent on him and on him only. That in wartime, in a time of spiritual war, we are dependent on him, that he won't allow the enemy in when we're totally and utterly dependent on him. When he will drive us so far to be dependent on him that we learn not to draw on the resources of the world, not to draw on the resources of Instagram, not to draw on the resources of ourselves, but to draw on the resources of him. That we are so utterly dependent on him that we can be weak in ourselves so that we are strong in him. And so when we see this picture of him completely and utterly surrounding us, besieged in love, it doesn't just stop there. It says, you hem me and you besiege me behind and before, so all the way around, and you lay your hand on me. He's not just been circling you, but he is literally laying his hand on us. This picture of God, if we stand in there and we picture this God that has built this wall of protection around each and every one of us, he's above us as well, laying his hand on us. So no matter where we go, where we walk, whether we're in struggling to parent, because let's be real, sometimes it is a struggle. Whether we're struggling to parent, he's there surrounding us, protecting us, laying his hand on us because he loves us so much and because he knows what we're doing externally and what we need internally. And so it goes on, it says, such knowledge in verse 6 is too wonderful for me. It is high, I cannot attain it. Where shall I go from your spirit? Or where shall I flee from your presence? If I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your right hand shall not hold me. Excuse me. See, God, he assures us through the highs and through the lows, through the mountaintops and through the valleys. In the extreme cases, he is there. In the middle of the sea, he is there. Whether In the wings of the morning, he is there. In the heavens, he's there. He's with us every single place, every single moment. And that is just such, I don't know about you, but that makes me feel good. Makes me feel a little bit like I can do this, like I'm completely exhausted. My soul is exhausted. My spirit is exhausted. My body is exhausted. But hey, I know that I have a God that is with me wherever I am, wherever I am going. But not just a God who is just kind of like walking alongside me, but a God that surrounds me, that besieges me so that I can have total and utter dependence on him. So that when I am so exhausted that I can't open my eyes, I can have total and utter dependence on him. When I am so sad that the tears won't stop falling, that I can have total and utter dependence on him, that he will allow me to rest in his presence. I can cry in his presence. I can be angry in his presence because he loves exactly who I am. He doesn't love the perfect version of me. He loves this version of me. He loves me so much. So it doesn't matter where and it doesn't matter if, God is there with us. And we can say, but what if I do this, God? Well, that doesn't matter because God is there besieging you. He is there loving you. He is there with his hand upon you. But what if I'm over there? No, that doesn't matter because God is a God who is everywhere. God is a God who surrounds you wherever you are walking. The key is, do you want him to surround you, or do you want to live dependently on the world, or do you want to live dependently on God? That's where the question comes. And so we can constantly be where, why, what if I do this, what if I do that? But it doesn't matter because God is with you every single answer to every single question. And it's not just a statement of truth. It's not just a truth that the Bible kind of says, but it is a proclamation. It is a promise of God that he is there with us. He is there when I wake up. He is there when I sleep. He is there when things get really hard. And David, he just has a way with words, doesn't he? His Psalms, they just speak to the soul. And he emphasizes at the end of that, in God's right hand that holds us, and the other hand that leads us. And throughout Scripture, the right hand, it's a symbol of power, and it's a symbol. And so by referencing his hands like that, David is emphasizing the truth that God is indeed leading his children. He is with us and he is leading us. And he knows where we're going, right? And he knows what we're doing. And he knows the highs and he knows the lows and he knows the why. But knowing who holds us throughout this all is what is the key to all of this. And so even though we might go different ways in life, the seasons of life are very different. The season of a mother of a 16-year-old is very different to the mother of a newborn. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I love newborns. I would have 1,000 babies. Those first, let's say 3 years, maybe even 4, I could do them over and over and over again. I know for some people, newborns is the hardest part, but for me, that was the easiest part. And people say, used to say, not anymore. I have an 8-year-old now. I think they're over that question. They're like, when are you going to have more kids? I'm like, I'm sorry, I just do not have the capacity to raise more children. I could have the babies, but I cannot raise more children. And so even now that I have 16-year-old, I have a nearly 13-year-old, I know that God is there with me answering my prayers before I even ask them. And even with the struggles that come with raising teenagers, I know that He's still there. The direction slightly changes every time, every season, every new thing that we go through. But the thing that doesn't change is a steadfast God who loves us and is there through it all. And if the band want to start to make their way up, it goes on to say, if I say, surely the darkness shall cover me and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to you. The night is bright as the day, for darkness is as light with you. And so we're always going to find ourselves in darkness. We're always going to find ourselves in valleys. That is the roller coaster of life, I'm afraid. And to say that your life is going to be absolutely perfect from the moment you're born to the moment you pass away is pretty much not the truth. And so even in the deep darkness, when we're wondering where God really is, can I just tell you that He is there with you. He is there holding you. He's there besieging you and covering you. He's there laying His hand on you. And God assures us that no darkness is too dark for Him. So it doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter whether, you're in a really dark place. God is there with you. And because He's a God of hope, and He's a God of light and of clarity and of confidence. And even though there might be a dark cloud hanging over you right now, I just want to encourage you that God knows that. He hears your innermost cries. He hears your innermost thoughts. He knows even more than you know, and He's there with you. He's there holding you. He is there loving you, and He is there in the darkest of places. And He promises, like in